Welcome to Experts Explain Trauma. Today we've got Dr. Jessica joining us to answer questions that we have about binge eating and emotional eating. She's also going to give us some golden nuggets on how to work through binge eating and emotional eating. Okay, so Dr. Jessica, here's our question for today. What's one small step I can take to stop using food as my only form of comfort without shaming myself in the process?
You know, that's a great question because one
It is.
small step. I always like when people ask me that, it's like, what's one thing I can do? I'm like, gosh, my one thing is always packed into like multi-layers, right? So
Yes.
I'm thinking through this. I'm like, okay, what is the one small step? I think before I answer the question, I want to go through for your listeners, since I know this is one segment, right? Like I want to just briefly talk about like what emotional eating really is, first of all, right? Because we're talking about like we're using food for comfort, right? So I just want to kind of remind our listeners, or if this is the first time, they're listening to an episode like this, right? So like keep in mind that emotional eating is not about lack of discipline or willpower, and it's not about failure. Okay. It is a survival based, nervous system driven strategy. Okay. And so we have to kind of keep that in mind, because otherwise we're essentially asking like, we're trying to say like, we're not allowed to emotionally eat ever.
Right.
And that is absolutely not what I preach. Right. And so we are allowed to emotionally eat. We're not, so to simplify it, like the goal is not to stop emotionally eating or stop using food for comfort. We're just trying to expand options. So we're not subtracting the emotional eating. We're just adding more options besides emotional eating.
Oh, I like that. That's so positive.
Yes, because humans don't like things to be taken away from them.
Right. That triggers stuff in us.
It does. And I mean, you think about just children, right? Like you take away a toy, you take away the screen, you take away desserts. It doesn't go well, right? So humans always do better in abundance versus scarcity. So I prefer an addition approach versus a subtraction approach, typically.
Okay,
For
I
most
like
of
that
us.
too. I do
Right?
too.
And so we're going to keep your emotional eating in the toolbox, and we're going to add 75 other tools.
Oh, there you go.
Right?
Lots of
That's what we're
options.
gonna do. Right? We're going to have lots of options, and it's going to depend on the day you had and, the sleep you had that night. If your children are driving you nuts, right? Your patience level, right? It's going to depend on so many other factors. That's what's going to depend, all those factors are going to help you choose which option is best. So I wanted to put that out there because I just want you to know that if you are emotionally eating, you're not broken. You're not broken. You learned it because it's worked.
Right. Exactly. It's a strategy you use. For me, it was a strategy I used at 11 years old, and it worked for me. And then I just carried it into my adult life.
Precisely. Right? And so it does work. And so I just want to give you guys more options, right? To add on top.
I love
right?
that. Oh,
So the one small step, honestly, the one small step I would say, and you can see it as 3 steps, but bear with me here. I don't want to overcomplicate it.
3 is fine.
But they're all teeny tiny. Pause, take one breath, name your feeling, wait 90 seconds. So I know it sounds multiple layered, but so I would say pause first. First, we just pause.
Always
right?
pause.
We just
pause
try to
is
pause.
great.
Pause is great, right? I'm talking, we can get you a second pause in there. 1 second, right? And then if we can put in one deep breath. So let's add in maybe another 3 seconds, 4 seconds. Right?
And what that does for me when I take that breath is it slows down the thoughts. It slows everything down so I can manage it.
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of talk out there about deep breathing, right? And so forth. And I know it sounds like just a surface level strategy, right? But it is not. It is one of the fastest ways to regulate your nervous system.
Yes.
Right? And as you were just saying, what it does is it slows down your brain. And so neuroscience wise, what that means is like it gets you out of your emotional brain into your logical brain. Right? So this trauma, freak out, panic, fight, flight, freeze brain that's going on is being activated. If we can pause and do a little bit of breathing, it helps shift you out of that part of your brain back into up here, your prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for making more logical, rational decisions. Right? So we're trying to get you up here and out of this back part of your brain.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
that's why I say, like, let's pause, we take a breath. If at that point you're able to name your feeling, right? If you're able to name
Mm-hmm.
your feeling and say, man, I'm feeling overwhelmed. And then you can just sit with it for 90 seconds. And when I say sit with it, I don't mean change it. I don't mean judge it. I don't mean try to understand it. I just mean just say, sit there for 90 seconds, like, yep, I'm overwhelmed and that really sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Cry if
that's
you
it.
need to cry, you
Why
know?
do you need to cry, right? And so just do, I mean, that's my one step. And yes, it's multi-layered, but I think putting those things together can be super powerful. So,
Oh, yes.
right. So it works on so many levels. It calms your emotional alarm system, right? Just especially like that pause and the breath together. Calms that emotional like panic system that's going off in the primitive part of your brain. Um, and you just being able to label how you feel, just putting like the emotional label with the word on your emotion also activates your prefrontal cortex. And again, that's the part of your brain that's responsible for emotion regulation and impulse control and decision making, right? We know all of those things shut down when we're eating emotionally, right? So we're doing everything we can to bring this part of your brain up here back online.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes,
So
I love
hopefully
that.
that makes sense. So
Yeah, that pause and breath is so critical. That's something I do with my triggers. When I recognize I'm being triggered, I
yes.
absolutely do that because there is ugly stuff that could come out of my mouth otherwise, and I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not cleaning up those messes anymore. I'm tired of it.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And you think about like, you know, teenagers who are traditionally seen as impulsive, right? And they have big feelings and they say things they don't mean, you know, they scream at their parents, they make quote unquote bad decisions, you know, that could be
Yeah.
dangerous, right? It's because teenagers, their prefrontal cortex is not fully developed, right? The
Yes.
brain is not fully developed until for most of us, it's around the age of 25.
Ooh,
And the
is it
prefrontal
longer for boys?
That's a great question, and that is not my expertise, but somebody's got that answer out there. Um, maybe it is, but yeah, and that's why, like, if it's around 25 and the prefrontal cortex is the last thing to develop, right? You're gonna be more
Ooh,
impulsive. You're gonna make
yes.
decisions that feel a little bit more risky or dangerous.
Yeah, there's not a lot of forward thinking that goes
Yeah,
on. Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. And so, and as kind of what you're talking about earlier too, I want to hit on like that habit, right? Just autopilot eating, right? When you pause, like it just breaks the cycle,
It
right?
does.
So even like a 2 second pause or a 3 second pause creates like this little window for your system to choose something different. And even if you don't choose something different, even if you decide to eat anyway,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay because you're
Right.
still working on building a new pathway in your brain. Because maybe next time it will look different.
And it's almost like if you choose to go ahead and do that, which is fine, it's conscious eating, not unconscious eating, which is what I obviously was doing for a long time. I was just eating without even, I didn't even taste the food. Like,
Yeah.
like today, if I what I find interesting is if I step into my emotional eating and I'll go for my go-to a lot of times is chips.
Hmm.
And I'll sit there and I'll let myself eat it. But I am now paying attention. Does this taste good? This sounds crazy, but is this taste good? I'm not even enjoying this. Like, it doesn't even taste good to me. And it makes it so much easier for me to close that bag up and set it aside. But it's
Hmm.
taken me a while to get here, but you do get there.
You do. Yep, with consistent effort. And it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be every time.
No, no.
But what you just said, like exactly, like it's like every time you do work on it, it lays the new neural pathway in your brain a little bit thicker, right? It just adds up, right? And so, um, and that's what creates long-term change, 100%.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's just, and again, I failed along the way. I made
Right.
mistakes and sometimes I went into it like,
That's right.
I'm not even going to check this out. I'm just going to eat. I don't care. I'm in a mood and I'm going to eat. And I do it consciously. I know I'm doing it.
Yep. Oh, yes, that is my favorite eating part, by the way. That's what I call the screw it eater or the rebel.
I love
And
it.
100%, that is my favorite eating part. She is fiercely protective. And she is fiercely protective over me and my clients, right? Because she's the part that's like, you deserve this. you can't tell me what to do. So, we can work with her. So like we can work
Sometimes
with
she's
her.
a little rebellious, and
She's
gonna show.
she's a little rebellious, right? She's a little rebellious. And so
I kind of like her though,
she is. She's a fierce, fierce protective part. So
Yes, as long as she doesn't show up too much, but yes.
yeah, we don't want the eating parts to make all of the decisions all of the time. That's right. That's when we don't have any other tools in our toolbox.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so we want a part of you that shows up that can make another choice too. So
exactly. So I love this advice. So for our listeners, what they need to do is when they feel that urge to eat and they're, is to pause, take a deep breath. The next step was
label the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And then try to sit with it for 90 seconds.
And it's going to feel like a long time.
Yep.
But
and the important thing with the 90 seconds is to not try to fix it. You don't even need to understand it. We're not judging it. We're just here for now.
Kind of just being aware, right? Just being aware that it's there and just
there. Yep. The thing with the 90 seconds is usually after about 90 seconds, that chemical reaction in your brain and body peaks and the urge to eat slowly starts to dissipate. And so that's why I typically say 90 seconds. For my clients who have been doing this work longer, they can tolerate up to four minutes. And usually by 4 minutes, usually it's gone, and they're good.
Yeah.
They can go about their evening or whatever. So.
Wow. Well, this is encouraging. Thank you, Dr. Jessica.
Absolutely. I hope it helps.
Oh, I know it will. It helped me. If this resonates with you or you've got a question for our experts, let us know in the comments and make sure to subscribe for more insights on trauma healing.